gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the GFreak Speaks podcast, episode number 28. Ladies and gentlemen, we're ticking away. Today we're joined by Jordan, ELFISHGUY, MAYS. Welcome to my man. But before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know that we're not sponsored. If you guys want to sponsor the podcast, let us know. Slide into the DMs. This podcast can also be found on Spotify, Apple, and for the visuals, if you want to see Jordan's gorgeous face, well, at youtube.com/Jacko GFreak. But let's get right into it. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Actually, you've done well with the intro because I noticed on a couple of your previous ones you weren't able to pronounce people's names correctly. So I appreciate the fact that you've got mine right. And to be fair, a lot of people do get mine wrong. I get Jordan ELFISHGUY's MAYS a lot. I don't know why the S comes in on ELFISHGUY, or I get Jordan ELFISHGUY May a lot as well. They forget the S on my last name. So yeah, I appreciate you getting it right.
Yeah, well, it's just that extra special treatment that I give you over Josh. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, deserve.
Fucking Johnny boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a total fuck up. But we're like, you know, because I said to him at the start of the podcast, everything just stays in here. It just goes raw. And we don't clip anything really. So
is that literally just because you're too lazy to edit? Because like, man, I hate editing my podcasts. So
yeah,
I kind of respect it.
Pretty much, man. But I like to keep it genuine, man. Like last week, I had a buddy of mine on, Esteban, and I had to take a leak. Man. I've never done that before, but I had to take a leak, and bro, stop. So I did, but that was the only time that I had to inconvenience myself with that quick edit. But otherwise, it's pretty smooth. Chop the start, chop the end, post the rest, put the intros in, and it's pretty easy, man. Really easy, dude. So, but look, let's kick it off, man. Where did it all begin for you with gaming? How did you get into it?
I mean, I guess it's a long story. Can be kind of short. I mean, I was playing games as a kid, obviously. I don't even remember what the first game I played really was. Probably something on the PC, some sort of like kids game, you know, like putt saves the zoo or something. I think I remember that was a pretty pog game. If I remember correctly, it was like some sort of detective game, or like you had to drive around in a zoo and like save all the animals or something. I remember you had to like, there was a snake that got out of its enclosure and it had gotten into the cold section and it was cold, so you had to find a coffee from somewhere. You bring it the coffee, it warms up, goes back to its thing. Yeah, look it up. It was actually a pretty sick game.
Hey, it sounds like Ace Ventura, bro. Okay.
I think if I went back, it wouldn't hold up. But in my brain, as like a 5-year-old, that game was sick. Anyway, so, you know, obviously I played games as a kid. I had a PlayStation 2, whatever, played all those games. But I really started playing PC just at the end of like high school. I think was when I got my first PC. Mum and Dad let me have mine. I think I was in grade 10 or 11 or something like that, and I was allowed to have the PC in my room, and that's when I started like gaming a lot.
Yep.
And then I started playing like Star Wars Battlefront 2 was actually my first comp game. There's not many people that are going to say Star Wars Battlefront 2 is their first comp game, but because there wasn't much of a comp scene, to be fair, but I ran a clan in that, and there was like a couple of other clans. Oz was the biggest one, which I wasn't in, and then I had ANZM, which standard for Australia New Zealand Military, because we're all like, it was all named after military. Oz was like Oz Squad, and they were all, I think there was like SAL, I can't remember what that standard for, but it was like something like Universal Soldiers or something. Anyway, it was all military branded, all these clans, and we had scrims and stuff and comp games and stuff like that. Anyway, played that a bit. It was fun. Moved into TF2.
Yep.
TF2, I played a bit of comp as well. I wasn't very good at TF2, but played a couple of seasons on Oz Fortress, which is still kicking around, even though TF2 is not, you know, a big esport. And then LoL came around, and I started playing LoL in season 2, and I played a little bit of like very low tier comp. I played in like a team that was like gold plats in some like random tourneys, and then at that point, that was when I started moving into casting, because I was like, well, I'm kind of like, I'm gold plat. I'm never going to be a pro.
Yeah.
And then
what ranking would you give yourself for casting, bro? What have you ranked up into, Pred or something, or Masters, or what are you at, man?
I mean, if I'm talking ANZ only, I'm like top 500. Clearly,
oh, okay.
Like, there's not 500, probably not 500 casters.
There's not. It's now 750.
Yeah, whatever it is. I think, like, if it comes to casting in Oz, I'm definitely like the top, basically. Like, yeah, I don't know. There's obviously people on the equal level to me, but I don't think, like, as far as domestically speaking, there's many people that would say they're definitely above me. I think there's a lot of people across different titles that are on an equal tier, but obviously we're all at the top of our respective titles.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you go internationally, then it's a different story. I'd probably say I'm a tier 2, maybe tier 3 commentator on a global stage. I have done a lot of good stuff on the international stage, but I've never really like solidified my place on an international broadcast. Like I've done CS, I've done PUBG, I've done Apex Legends. I don't know, what else have I done overseas? Like Crossfire, like I've done a few things overseas. But I've never felt like I've been the best in any particular title, which is kind of hard to do from Australia. So
yeah.
Anyway, that was a long answer to your question of where I started in esports, but
I like it, man.
Yeah, that's kind of the story.
So, as someone that you rate yourself as a tier 2, possibly tier 3 on an international stage as a caster or host of the desk, what would elevate you to a tier 1?
I mean, I guess it's kind of a bit of a, like, what is your definition of a tier 1 or a tier 2 commentator or whatever? I think for me, like, skills-wise and experience-wise and whatever, I have the ability to be tier 1, or I have the ability to go on these shows. Like, I have been on these shows, and I feel like I've done reasonably well on these shows. I'm definitely not the best. Like, obviously don't have that experience on, you know, really, really big stages, big shows and that kind of thing. But I think I can hold my own weight at the very least. So I think it's not necessarily a skills thing or an experience thing or whatever. I think it's more of an opportunities kind of a thing where if, you know, myself or even a lot of commentators from Australia were given the opportunity to, you know, work regularly on shows like that, then I think that's where, you know, that discrepancy comes through, right? Because a lot of those opportunities do go to people from North America or from Europe predominantly, just because those are the, generally speaking, the higher broadcast, like the higher standard broadcasts.
Yep.
And you might get 1 or 2 token people from Oceania or AU or Asia or whatever, just as like a regional representation. But that's kind of, for the most part, what it is, unless, you know, you're someone like Uber or Atlas or Papa Smithy or like any of those guys who've actually moved overseas to work in the primary region, and then you're on the main broadcast for the most part. So I think for me, that ship has probably sailed, like as far as coming like a tier 1 talent in any game. I think I'm always going to be like at the top of ANZ, but I don't really see myself ever moving overseas. So unless there was a world where for some reason I became a mainstay on a particular title from ANZ and consistently got international jobs from ANZ, you know, that's probably all, like that's what it would require, I think, for me.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, man. So there's a fair bit to it then to improve, and so it seems that from what you're saying, it's the skill. Everyone's got the skill and talent, but it's all about the connections and the networking. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even. I don't think it's necessarily that, and like, I don't know. It's a whole kettle of fish, and it's something that continues to come up all the time. There was a recent one with obviously MSI, which is going on at the moment, the League of Legends event. No Oceanic caster over there, not even any Oceanic representation, no one on the desk, nothing like that. And it's kind of like, we have a team there, and we've consistently had a team there for years. And even the last MSI, our team made it out of groups, if I remember correctly. So to not have someone like Skimmy or Rusty going over is kind of like, I mean, you just have NA guys, EU guys talking about an OS team, which is fair enough. Like, they do a fine job for the most part, but you're never going to get that same, you're never going to have the same understanding of the teams that are not from your region inherently, just because, like, you don't cast 10 or 20 games of their games. You can look at them, you can research them, you can talk to people, whatever, but you're not there. You're not casting it. You're not developing the storyline. Like, these guys are literally developing the storyline of that team. So I think as far as how to do it, or where to do it, or what, you know, how do you get there? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Otherwise, I would obviously be on a lot of these broadcasts. I think to an extent, it is a bit of networking. It's a bit of luck. In fact, I'd have to say it's probably a lot of luck. Like, in a lot of cases, the international events that I've worked have been because someone's been not available, or like something like that. You know, I did a couple of CS ones, right? The very first one I did overseas, which was IEM Dallas. I had just done IEM Sydney, which was IEM Sydney 2018, where I felt like I casted really well. And obviously I was very lucky with the game that I had, which was that Renegades game in the stadium. And so everyone was looking at that and saying, wow, this guy's a sick caster, probably because I had a really sick game. Like, it's easy to cast a really good game really well, just because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Also, it was my first big arena cast. So, you know, super hyped, excited, etc., blah, blah, blah. So people were looking at that. I had good like momentum in terms of people were excited about watching me, etc. And someone wasn't available for that Dallas event, and so they got me over to the Dallas event. And then, like, obviously I casted okay, but not really that well. I was jet lagged. I was casting with someone I'd never worked with before. I was nervous, like I was out of my comfort zone because like I was the only Aussie guy there. I was working with a bunch of like really big name talent, and like I was the new guy. I was really super fresh. So I didn't feel like I did particularly well. Plus, that event was also on Facebook, so fucking no one watched it.
Yeah.
Because it was ESL Pro.
Don't get me started about fucking Facebook, bro. Don't get me started about that shit.
Yeah. So I didn't feel like I networked very well at that event, and I haven't really worked a big, super good international CS event since, apart from the IEM Sydney's, where I have that direct connection with ESL Australia, who are running it. And obviously IEM Sydney's stopped existing. So, you know, now it's kind of like, well, what do you do? I do a couple of CS events here and there, and I do some other good stuff, hopefully overseas in the near future. But we'll see. Like, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to like networking, being in the right place at the right time, a lot of luck, knowing the right person to maybe just say like, oh, you know, normally they're saying, oh, who do we look, who can we get? And then someone sort of throws your name in the hat, and that's how it works. So I don't really know that there is a great formula. I think personally, if I was a new caster and I was like really wanting to hit the top tier, I wouldn't stay in ANZ, you know. That would be my advice. I know it's kind of unsolicited, you didn't ask for it, but for anyone that's like looking at this and saying, how do I become a top tier international shoutcaster? Do not stay in Oz, because we're geographically challenged. Do not stay in Oz. If you really want to make it, you have to go overseas, is my opinion. And maybe I'm biased because I have stayed in Oz, and it hasn't happened necessarily in that way for me. And maybe it is possible, but I genuinely don't think you will get as many opportunities. Definitely don't think you get it. Same as a player. You just don't get those opportunities in Oz as you do overseas. That's why all of our players go and play overseas. The industry's not the same here as it is overseas.
Do you reckon it will become something like that overseas? Like, do you reckon we're about 10 years behind, 5 years behind for having our own eruption of this from this infancy?
I don't ever really see a world where Oz esports or ANZ esports can ever be as big as it can be in North America and Europe, just purely because we don't have the population.
Yep.
Like, if you look at the best possible scenario we can ever have, it's never going to be the same as North America or Europe. It can definitely get better than what it's at right now. Like, we have great sporting infrastructure, we have amazing sporting teams, all of that, like our cricket teams, our footy teams, whatever. They're all salaried, paid very well, etc. So there's a level which you can hit, like theoretically speaking, if it were to get to that level where you have mass general uptake of esports, where I don't know how many people are watching sport, for example, but, you know, let's say 50% of the Australian population might watch cricket or NRL or AFL or whatever.
Yeah.
At least one of. You know, maybe 50% of the population could watch Counter-Strike or League of Legends or Dota or Overwatch or whatever, Apex. Maybe we get to a pretty good level. But if we're directly comparing to North America and Europe, it's never going to get to that level, to their level. Maybe it gets to the level that they're at now in 10 years. But where are they going to be in 10 years? We're not going to get there, I don't think.
You know that the biggest the most popular esports region is APAC? Do you know that?
Yep.
But it's all India because of their population.
And the thing is about APAC is there's just so many different languages doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of those regions also don't watch the English broadcast. So for Europe, you know, a lot of people are going to watch the English broadcast because a lot of people in Europe speak English. But when we're talking about Indonesian teams, Vietnamese teams, Thai teams, Chinese teams, Mongolian teams, Korean teams, like all these teams, you know, they have a broadcast for their own region. Like I cast, for example, PUBG, right? I think PUBG is a perfect example. We do the English broadcast, which is the main broadcast, myself, Xenox, and a couple of guys from England. And predominantly there's Thai teams, Vietnamese teams, Indonesian teams, Philippines teams, and Oceanic teams. So there's 2 Aussie teams, and we are the English-speaking broadcast. We can only interview the 2 Aussie teams because none of the other teams speak English.
Yep.
And the Thai broadcast gets more views than our mainstream broadcast, which is the English broadcast. We might get 10, 15K. The Thai broadcast is hitting 20 plus every time.
Yeah.
So it's like those 20,000 viewers from Thailand, if they were, let's say, Germany for the European broadcast, would probably be watching the English broadcast. because there's not really, there's no big German broadcast. But because there's a big Thai broadcast, the same for Indonesia. There's a big Indonesian broadcast. There's a big Philippines broadcast. Like this kind of thing happens in all the esports in the APAC region. So you never have like this one unified umbrella where you say APAC has 50,000 viewers or 100,000 viewers like the other regions, because they're all watching their separate segmented regional broadcasts, because a lot of those regions just don't speak English.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. Actually, at work, about a week ago, this guy was showing me, he's Chinese, and he was showing me this website. It's like the Chinese equivalent of Twitch. I don't know what the name of it's called, but it's the Twitch Chinese
or something.
I have no idea. Anyway, and these people, like so many of their streamers, have like over 1 million viewers concurrents, like just watching. And I'm just like, holy shit! Like Twitch is nothing.
To be fair, Chinese broadcasts are insanely view botted. They are insanely view botted.
Okay.
So you always have to take those kinds of numbers with a grain of salt. I was doing like one of those Crossfire events, and one of the Chinese casters was like watching it on her phone. And I was like, oh, how many viewers are watching the Chinese broadcast? She said like 3 million. And I was like, what the fuck? This was in 2015. Like 3 million viewers are watching this. And on my broadcast, there's like maybe 50 people watching the English broadcast. Like, how can that be real?
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, everyone sort of knows like Chinese numbers can be a little bit dodgy at times. But I mean, there's no secret that there's obviously still a fuck ton of people watching these broadcasts. Like even if you take off, like literally you take off 50%, they've still got 500,000.
It's insane.
Like that's crazy. Like no one's getting 500,000 views. When's the last time you saw a Twitch stream with 500,000 views? I mean, I'm not really
maybe
Twitch streamers, but like, it's kind of nuts.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. You might get that on like a grand final day, like an AFL grand final, but that's one event. That's one event. These people get it every day. Imagine turning a stream on and having an arena times five MCGs full of people just sitting in front of you. Like, holy shit. It's insane. But yeah, how do you find yourself? So obviously you got the opportunity to go overseas for multiple events, but what would be your biggest event that you've cast at? Would it be this most recent Apex Global Series? Would that be the biggest one, viewership-wise and opportunity-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think so. Like, in terms of the prestige of the event, probably. Because, see, again, this is a really hard topic to get into because, like, I've done the Crossfire Stars Grand Finals, and I don't even know if you know what Crossfire is. Like, a lot of people from the West don't know that Crossfire is even a thing, but it's basically a Counter-Strike copy clone type game. Developed in Korea, and it's massive in China. So as far as biggest events are concerned, it probably is a Crossfire Grand Final. I did 2015, 2017, 2018, 2019 Grand Finals, and then COVID hit, and now it's like obviously in the bin.
What were the prize pool for those events?
The first one was like 250K in 2015, which at the time was a lot. And then as we got toward 2018 or 2019, whatever the last one was, I think it was 2019, that was, I think, a 2 million prize pool. It was either 1 million or 2 million. You either got 1 million for first, or the prize pool total was 1 million. I think it was 1 million for first, and the rest of the prize pool was over however X many teams. So, I mean, in terms of prize money, that was definitely the biggest one I'd ever done. But obviously no one from the West watches that game. So it was kind of like, kind of big, but like no one really cared. So for me, it's like either that Apex Legends event, PGC, which I did last year, but that was an online broadcast, or one of the IEMs. So it's kind of a hard one. It depends on like what you quantify as biggest and like what to me is personally the biggest deal. I think probably the IEM Sydney's, just because they were in Sydney. They were in Australia. It was Counter-Strike, a game that I mained for so long, had a great game, that kind of stuff. But definitely that Apex Legends was a massive deal. So I hope I get to do some more. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, Champs is coming up, and we'll see whether we get the call up for that one or not. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like with those kinds of events, it's always like really sick to do them regardless. You know what I mean? Like even if it's like, like IEM Sydney is not the biggest Counter-Strike event in the world, but to someone from Australia, it's like fucking massive regardless. So.
Oh, for sure. It's like the Bathurst of esport events here, mate. At least this year you've got DreamHack, and DreamHack's a different company and whatnot that you can get your foot in the door with. I'm probably sure you already do, and whatnot. But I think that for casters, like I touched on this with Josh the other week, but I think for casters, you want to be that type of that combo or that person that people just bark about in the chat that they want back if you're missing and stuff. And like, how are you building your brand against other casters that are in the scene so you stand out?
Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? I think for me personally, I did have it a little bit easier than a lot of people do now, purely because I had partly got the first mover's advantage. Obviously, I wasn't the first mover. There was people casting before me, and a lot of those guys are the ones that have actually gone overseas. Again, like Uber, Pastry Time, Atlas, Papa Smithy,
Miles.
Miles. Well, actually, I don't know. I think Miles actually did start a little bit after me. I don't really know when he started casting because I wasn't like super into COD, but I'm pretty sure I was casting before him. So I kind of had the first mover advantage in that, like, I started casting in 2013, late 2013 maybe, or early 2014. I don't know exactly. And that was before like literally almost everyone that I'm casting with. I'm 27.
27. Okay. So you finished school in 2012. So you're out of school. 2011. Okay. So a couple years out of school, that's when you started casting. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I think I started casting in uni.
Yep.
And then I finished uni, and then I started working at ESL full time in 2016.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, so I started casting before a lot of the guys now in ANZ. I don't even know, like, I'm trying to think of a caster in ANZ that is currently like still a caster that has been around longer than me. Obviously, Sandman was casting before I was.
Yeah.
But he's not like he doesn't really cast full time anymore. Like, he does a bit of water tanks here and there.
Yeah.
Josh would have been around at the same time. I don't know when he started casting. Maybe probably a little bit before me, but again, he's not primarily a caster anymore. Like even the LoL guys, like Rusty started after I started. So yeah, like I think just in terms of that like I had the ability to grow with the scene.
Yep.
So when I started, like it was kind of okay to be dog shit. And I was dog shit. Like if you go back and look at some of my first broadcasts, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have hired me. And so I was able to, do 2 or 3 years of unpaid work in my bedroom because I was 18 or 19 or whatever.
Yep.
Going through uni, telling mum to get off the internet because back then, we had ADSL 2 or something, and if someone was downloading, it would fucking lag my cast.
Sending a fax.
Yeah.
Make a phone call.
Basically, yeah. It was like literally my sister would download a Snapchat and my ping on League of Legends would go to 999 while she was downloading the Snapchat. I could remember every single time. It was so annoying.
Man. A photo like 1 megabit, 1 megabit. Yeah. It's just nuts.
But like, yeah, I think like I was able to kind of build my brand up before building a brand was even a thing, like I was just doing it. I was just
grow with the scene.
Fun.
Yeah.
And I grew with the scene. I started doing some LANs, like community events and stuff. And like, obviously I met people. And then from there, I ended up working at ESL, which was also very helpful for building my brand because I just got put on like everything. I got put on water tanks, Counter-Strike, like Overwatch, whatever. Like literally anything ESL had that they didn't have casters for, or that, I could do because I was salaried and they didn't have to pay someone else to do. They just put me on it.
Yeah.
And so then I got a lot of opportunities through that. And with that, I was able to build up not only a bit of a reputation, I guess, as someone who knew how to cast, but skills as well. Like when I started casting at ESL, I was not that good. I'll go back and watch some of mine. And I think like I'm worse at that time than some people now are who are casting for free still.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate reality is that now the scene is so established, you've got people like me and others who have got that set of skills that have been built up over time, that even if you start at a base level that's quite good, it's hard to kind of break in unless you get a breakout opportunity. You kind of need a breakout opportunity. You need to get on like one of these leagues, like a Rainbow Six or, let's say Overwatch 2, right? Maybe that's a good opportunity that's going to kind of come up. Fuck. You'd think someone who casted for a living would be able to speak properly. That is going to come up, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people probably looking at like Valorant, right? Everyone just decided, I'm going to be a Valorant caster, but only maybe 5 or 6 people are going to be the Valorant guys for ANZ. That's just it. That's how it is. There's just not that many broadcasts. So you have 20 plus people trying to do that, 30 plus, 50 plus, who knows?
Yeah.
And back when I started, there was no one. Like I started casting League of Legends and there was like, maybe 5 to 10 guys, but no one was getting paid. Everyone was doing it for free. So there was no like, I don't know, no animosity, no like real competitiveness between the casters. There was no opportunities. People were just doing it for fun. And it's different now. So as soon as, someone starts casting something, they're like, okay, well, what can I get from this? Basically, it's like when Valorant came out, it's like, I want to be the Valorant guy in ANZ. I know if I become that guy, I'm going to make bank.
Yep.
That was the theory. Hasn't necessarily turned out that way. Unfortunately, we don't have that much Valorant, but a lot of people are looking at it in a different way now than what they were. Again, I normally used to say 5 years ago, but unfortunately it's not 5 years ago for me anymore. It's something like 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a different world. So
they're changing so much.
I haven't really answered your question though, have I? Like, what am I doing with my brand?
Hey, what are you doing with the brand, bro? Just give me the answer. God damn it.
Yeah. This is going to be like Josh's episode where we go for an hour and a half.
I'll have to fucking reach through the camera and hold you by the neck and shake it out of you, bro.
I don't really try to overthink it too much because I tend to be the kind of person that wants to like let my work do the talking, for lack of a better word. Yep. I don't really like this whole like influencer drive push where it's like all about numbers, and if you have X amount of Twitter followers, that your value is just inherently more. It's like, well, I'm from Australia. I'm not only going to get so many Twitter followers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that some guy from North America with 20,000 followers, just because he's been on a more exposed broadcast, is any better than me as a commentator. That's the way I see it.
Yep.
Obviously, there is an inherent value to brands at having eyeballs from their talent, so there is something to be said for it. But I'm trying to do my YouTube. It's a bit like spotty. I really am impressed with how much content you're churning out, because I know how difficult it is for me. I don't know how much you're doing, like two videos a week or something like that. I was trying to get one video a fortnight. Yeah. And I'd do it for like 3 months, and then, a whole bunch of work would pop up. That's the other issue. I can do nothing for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month. And then like last month I worked 19 days in a row. So like, when am I going to do a YouTube video? Like, I'm just not. I wake up, I cast, and then I go to sleep. That's literally my life for like 3 weeks, basically. So it's kind of one of those situations. But yeah, I try to do YouTube here and there, covering esports and ANZ esports and APAC mostly. I try to do like tweets and shit. Like, I try to get the the clickbaity tweets out sometimes, especially when I'm overseas. I did one when I was at the Apex event. I got like 800 likes, so I was pretty happy with that.
What was it? I would have liked it, but what was it?
So this was like the third big Apex LAN of all time, because it kind of got cucked by COVID a little bit. Yeah. And there was only 8 or 9 players that had played at all 3. And I listed those players.
Yeah, I saw that.
These guys are like the legends of the game or some shit.
I remember seeing Bullet was one of them as well. Yeah.
So exactly. And that's kind of like, it's a pretty cool storyline, right?
Oh, for sure. Fuck yeah. I was listening him up on my podcast the other week, and I'm like, holy fuck, man, calm down.
There's 120 players, right, at that event, and only like 8 or 9 of them have played at the other 2 previous Apex Legends events. So I thought that was cool, and that got some pretty good traction. Yep. So that's me. It's like, I try to grow my Twitter. And I try to grow my YouTube. And I hit 4K followers on Twitter from that event, so I was pretty happy with that.
Huge, man. Huge.
Which I think for ANZ is actually pretty good.
How many followers did you get? Like, what were you at before you went overseas? Like 3K?
No, I was like 3,900, but I was stagnant for a while. I was sitting around 38, 3,900 for quite a while. So I think I got a couple of hundred followers from that event, which again, like, it kind of ties into what I'm saying. It's like, mate, I cast literally every day almost in ANZ, and I get, maybe 1 to 2 followers a week. I go and do one international event plus 200. So it's like, how do you grow in ANZ? I don't fucking know. Just go overseas and cast something as a caster. Like, obviously as a content creator, it's different. But I think as a caster, a lot of your value is tied into what you're casting. And internationally, like, ANZ esports is not seen as a particularly big deal. So people are just not watching it. Yeah. So it's like, only when you go overseas and do these big international events do you really get to expose yourself. Yeah. So you really got to take that and run with it.
Well, speaking about ANZ esports not being a big deal, I know that there's a big debate right now because New York Subliners just took out. When you guys are listening to this, it's 2 weeks later, but New York Subliners just took out the Pro-Am Championship, and that was Crim6's team, and Crim6 is counting that as a chip, so that's 38 that he's won now. And Paddy Yakes is calling him out saying, nah, bro. He said, no fucking way that counts. He said, well, okay, if that counts, you need to make it back to 37 because that event in Australia. Back in like the casino, he just kept saying the fucking casino. He said, bro, they had like one fucking pro team there, and then one Australian pro team, which is Mind Freak, and then a few AMs. And he said then there were probably people just rocking in pissed and fucking fucked out of their mind from the casino, just walking in there wanting to have a shot as well. Yeah. He said that was the easiest event ever for them. He's like, that's fucked. He said, so we can't count that. So they're even giving it that as well. So it's an overlooked scene, but the great part about the Apex event was the fact that like those boys play so well, and even Rig taking it out. How many was Rig's players from Australia, or they're a Japanese team? So two of them.
Japanese org, Australian team. Technically all three are from ANZ, but obviously Jen Burton was unable to play because he got COVID.
Okay.
So that's a whole different
so it was a full Aussie team, but then someone stepped in. Yep.
They had a UK, I believe he was from the UK, JMW. He was a sub. And he was from like an EU team that had
far out.
They literally came like 11th in their league, and you needed to get 10th to qualify for that event. So he was like just on the cusp. All three of his teammates, himself included, got to play as a sub at that event because of like COVID issues, you know. So someone had to sub for someone, and so their whole team made it, but they didn't actually make it as a team, which was kind of funny. So it was an Aussie team that won, but the caveat is that they had a UK sub, which, you know, I still think that's fucking incredible, to be honest. In fact, that's actually almost more impressive, because for the context of those that don't know, Jen Burton is like literally a freak at this game. Like he is, I don't know what, you know, like you're a COD Halo guy. Like I don't know what the equivalent is in COD or Halo, right? That I can
Would you call him the Scump?
See, I don't know Scump. Like I've heard his name, but I can't quantify what his level is.
Crim6, you know Crim6?
No.
Crim6 the most winningest player of all time in Call of Duty.
See, the thing is, he's not the most winningest player, but like in APAC, this guy is like, when we get top stat, you know, at any given tournament, he's got the most kills, he's got the most damage, he's blah, blah, blah. Regardless of how his team does, by a magnitude of, you know, like, he's like he's 100%, and then everyone else is at like 66% of his stat. And that's how far ahead of everyone else he is in every event. He's just crazy. Like he might get 50 kills and the next closest is like 35.
Yeah.
He'll do 100,000 damage. The next closest is like 70k or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So
he's on controller too, and everyone wanted to see him. They're like, "Oh, he's hacking."
Everyone wanted to see him.
And then they're saying that he's faked COVID because he shit himself, and I'm just all these fucking theories, bro.
Mate, who goes all the way to Sweden to fucking fake COVID? That's a troll. And how do you even fake COVID, by the way? You go up to the nurse and say, "Hey, can you just tell me I've got a positive result, even though I don't?"
I know.
Like no one's doing that. Come on, bro.
How has anyone spoken to Jen Burton? Like I haven't heard or seen anything. Oh,
he was alive. I can guarantee you he's alive. I saw him after the event. I saw him.
But I haven't seen any post-interview. I tried to get him on the podcast. It's probably not going to happen. But, like, how, like, I want to know how he's feeling, man. Like,
I think he's fine. He went, you know what it was, by the way? He went on holidays afterward. He's gone for like a week or two. So I guess he might only just be getting back now.
Yeah.
But I spoke to him in the lobby of the hotel after the event, and he said he was going on holiday for a week. So maybe that's why. Yeah. No one's heard from him.
No, that's fair enough, man.
I think he was streaming last night.
How like what his fucking thoughts are. Like at one time, like you'd be like, oh fuck, man, like I want him to win, but at the same time, if I'm not there and they win, then I'll be spewing. Like but you're happy spewing, if that makes sense.
I don't know, man. Like I think you want them to win, because you still get a cut of the money, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I guess I
don't know how that would work.
Independent thing, because you know, you have to kind of pay the sub something, but also, you know, your teammate that literally got you to this event or helped you get to this event.
Those two probably halved, maybe.
I reckon that's the way you do it. The two
they
thirded. They get their main cut, and then that third cut is halved between the guy that didn't play and the sub.
Yeah.
The sub gets whatever.
They might have quartered it, man, because if that guy didn't play as well as he did, then they would never have got that money. So they might have quartered it. You never know.
But see, that's the argument. It's like, the thing is, Jen Burton is like, on paper, their best player. So you've literally lost your best player. So when he comes back in, it's like almost they're better.
Yeah.
You know, that was my argument, or my thinking going into that event. I was like, okay, well, Rig's supposed to be our best hope at this event.
Yeah.
But now they've lost Jen Burton, so they're not going to compete.
They're still fucking.
And then for the first 2 days, you know, Strike, who looked like the number one Oz team, they were the one that performed better. And then Rig comes into that final day and fucking pumps them. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a Bit
I
of
was
how you go
happy.
on.
I was happy with the STK boys, the way they performed. They won a couple of games as well.
They won back to back. They were the only team that won back to back.
Yeah, and I was so impressed. But it was insane. But how do you think that the Apex guys would have gone if they had Jen Burton? Do you reckon they would have won? Like,
Definitely they could have won. 100% they could have won. Yeah. If they win with JMW, they can definitely win with Jen Burton. Like, there's no question about that. Whether they would have or not, like, obviously it's one of those ripple effect kind of things where it's like, if Jen Burton's in here, does he say something in this situation which influences them to do this instead of this? And therefore they don't win. Like, whatever. But definitely with their ability to win, you know, with 2 players plus a sub, you know, you put Jen Burton in, like, it's a better team. It's a better team with Jen Burton. So there's no reason to say that they can't win. They go to champs, they might go back to back. It's possible. But the nature of battle royales is very, you know, like, you can't guarantee.
It's RNG, man. It's just,
you know, they'll probably place high. There's no question about that. But will they win? Especially with the format that Apex Legends runs, which, you know, there's arguments about it. I like it personally from a viewership perspective, that match point format.
It was exciting.
I think it's hype as fuck. But, you know, like, even looking at that last game, you could make the argument that maybe they shouldn't have won that game because they had a player got knocked. He was able to cross in open when teams are looking at him and not die and then get rezzed. And then the 2 teams fought each other.
They both fought, they were just so lucky.
Well, the 2 teams both sort of said they thought that Rig was the other team. So the guys up top thought Rig was underneath them and the guys underneath thought Rig was above them. But Rig was the team out on the side. So they kind of misread the situation, which happens, obviously. But that's like the beauty of it. That's the beauty of the game. That's the match point format. There's anonymous mode as well, so you can't know who you've knocked.
Oh, so they don't know who they've knocked. Yeah. Okay.
That's the big thing, right? They knock a guy. Normally in the game, you see the player name and you say, oh,
we'll push that team or we'll stay away from that team.
We're basically going to duo, like, we're going to team on that team, which is like, you're not actually teaming, but
it would have happened. 100%.
It would have happened because you know, if they win, the tournament is over. If one of us wins, tournament still keeps going. So we're not shooting that other team. We're fucking destroying Rig. So anonymous mode really did save them there.
Oh, for sure. I tell you what as well, man. That Optic team was a bit of a smoky to agree. Not everyone was like rating him too highly, but they were slapping. They were fucking hitting hard, bro. And the coolest part about Optic, I'm a green wall guy. Like, I fucking love the green wall.
Of course you are.
Of course I am, man. You've even got a green wall behind you.
I do.
Green wall supporter. So one of the brick by bricks. But to see the announcement and it just like it popped up the day of, I'm like, holy shit, man. So I had like, you know, multiple teams who were going for, but it's probably the best casted and hosted event I think I've ever seen. Like, it was great from a viewer's perspective. I think that the way the cam was positioned, I think that the onboarding system with the main cast, and then also the individual system where you could go and see
the POVs,
the teams.
That's
my
sick.
God, that was it was incredible.
I think that's probably the best.
Yeah,
like, that is the best implementation of some sort of Twitch integration I've ever seen. It's called Command Center, and that literally needs to be standard in esports. That
game changing
is fucking amazing, especially for a battle royale, right? Where there's so many POVs, and you can listen to the comms. Like, that's the greatest thing about it. You hear the players talking about it and shit. It's like, man, that's
one thing I did notice.
No one's done that before.
One thing I did notice though, when I was watching the other teams, is that the main broadcast was still over the top of it, like the audio. That was kind of annoying. I'm like, I just want to
cut that out.
They need to just fuck that off. Okay, only bring it in maybe when you're spectating the team, but even then I wouldn't even bother. Just have it's pure comms, it's raw, and you just hear everything.
I think 100%.
Yeah. The Aussies were definitely the most vocal when it came to swear words and stuff. That was 100% easy. Oh, you're fucking there, all that type of stuff. And they got right into it. But it was such a great broadcast to watch. I'm spewing that it was so late. Like, it would start at about midnight here, and go till about 4 o'clock in the morning, for the last day. But prior to that, the first 2 days, it was about 8 o'clock until 2 a.m. So that was really good.
Some big days, man. Those first 2 days were crazy. We started at, our call time was 7 a.m. local time. I think the broadcast started at 10 a.m. local time, which, as you say, is probably about 8 o'clock here. I think it might have been 6 o'clock here. Anyway, I think it's an 8-hour time difference, regardless. Yep. So, we kind of caught actually all of the time zones, which was good because, like, on the first couple of days, you'd start, and for like the first 2 lobbies, it was kind of watchable for Asia Pacific. And then into that final lobby was when North America would start waking up. So our numbers were actually quite consistent across those days.
Yes.
And obviously that's why they put the final a bit later to get the North America audience.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the nature of the beast when it comes to esports again in ANZ. It's so hard to be on a good time zone. But hopefully they'll have an event in like Japan, for example. Like Japan is absolutely massive for Apex, so I can see that maybe happening next year for one of the playoffs, finals or something like that, I reckon. So we'll have one on our time zone.
When's the one happening for later in the year? Is that World Champs?
So yeah, Championship is in Raleigh, which is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But
that's Raleigh.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Raleigh.
That's where they played COD not long ago.
Yeah, that's in a couple of months. So that's in July, mid-July, I think. Yeah, and that's like basically the World Champs. That's the final. And then after that, Split 1, 2022, 2023 will start. It's kind of weird. They have 2 splits and then the final. Yep. And we just finished the Split 2 playoffs. So now it's time for the final.
And placing well in the Split 2, does that help you place better for when you try to go for the World Champs? Or
yeah, so the way it works is Split 1 and Split 2, you get points to the Champs finals.
Okay.
Basically, if you placed, like a team placed first in Split 1, didn't even make it into the top 5 for Split 2, they're going to Champs anyway, because they got enough points.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you just need to do pretty well in one of the 2 splits, and there's a pretty good chance you're going to Champs.
So there's like a bit of a seasonal thing, like a seasonal ladder, I guess, for the invite.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, I don't mind that format. What are your thoughts about the winning format on the Apex Legends to win that, on the final day? The match point format. What are your thoughts about it?
I think I can understand why players may not like it from a competitive integrity and the best team wins standpoint. I think looking at that whole tournament, Optic could have made a pretty good argument. Team Liquid could have made a pretty good argument that they were, quote unquote, the best teams there. Obviously, it's Reignite. They won, so there's no question about that. They played the format and they won. So I can understand that argument, but from a viewership perspective and from not having to sit there at the end of a broadcast after, game 20 and say, well, if X team did this, they would win. And if Y team did this, they would win. While the guys in production are fucking doing the calculation to see the scoreboard. And then it's like, and let's bring up the scoreboard. And then the name's there and it's like, hooray.
Yeah.
Like, they won. That happens a lot in Battle Royales. And I think it's kind of cringe.
Yep.
There's no hype at all. So I really like the match point format for that perspective. And I guess it just sort of depends on what side of the coin do you find more important? Do you find like pure competitive integrity 100%? We need to have the best team win hands down, and there needs to be as many possible chances for that to occur? Or do we want a hype moment for the spectators? Do we want it to be an exciting finish? And obviously, as a caster, not a player, I lean towards the hype moment. I lean towards the exciting finish. I think that's 10 times more important because, end of the day, that's why people are watching. So, it is a bit what it is. They do a good job of like giving you a bit of an advantage if you played well in the tournament. Yep. Because the way it works is you need to get X amount of points, then find a win.
Yep.
And if you come through the upper bracket, you get like 10, 9, 8, 7, whatever, down to 1 free point.
Yeah.
So you can start at 10 points. You only have to get 40. Everyone else has to get 50, and that's fair.
Yep.
In my opinion. And to also look at it from the perspective of Reignite did play fucking well on that final day. Like they won 2 games. It wasn't as if
they played well.
They scooted through.
Heated.
They came into match point as like the 5th or 6th or 7th team that got there and then won 1 game. They actually won a game. They were like the 2nd team or equal first to hit match point, I think. And then they won. So like, obviously, quote unquote, one of the best teams won.
Yep.
I think there's no argument against that. So I think it worked out for everyone.
Oh, for sure, man. I
really
think that to back up your point as well, if you are the best team, I think that no matter what the format, if you are able to adapt to that situation and put yourself in the position of getting those points early and then placing yourself high and taking out the dub. If you're able to be able to do that and manipulate a lobby, if you're that good, then it's the ball's in your court. It's yours to lose if you're the favorite. And those boys obviously were, the guys to do it. Like you said, Team Liquid and Optic were probably the ones that might have counter-argued that. But at the same time, Rig just happened to stick their nose out before everyone else did. And they just got it. A little bit of luck was on their side. And I think that's with everything with BR. But
that's right.
They took it out, and props to them, man. I think that every Aussie was fucking hyped. They should be getting a news article in the news or something.
They should.
But they haven't, because I think for the Fortnite they did.
that I don't know COD, I don't know Halo, and I don't really know StarCraft, but pretty much every other esport I've like touched at some point. Weird phrasing. Anyway, I think that might be the best result of an ANZ esports team ever.
Yeah.
Like, has an ANZ esports team ever won a world championship? I don't think so.
I don't know. Is
Like,
that a world
I
championship?
about it.
You'd call it a world champion?
It's literally...
It is.
Look,
it is,
not
yeah.
the World's Championship. It's not called World's Championship, but it is a world tier event. You had all of the best teams in the world at this event, and they won it.
It just had a different name. Same shit, different name.
It was the split two playoffs.
Yep.
But yeah, World Championship. Champs is bigger, but end of the day, like 90% of the teams at the Champs are going to be the same as what was at split two finals.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the best result an Aussie esports team has ever had. I mean, Renegades, they placed top 4 at a major.
Yep.
But they didn't win it. And this is like, you won, so...
Yeah, man.
Like, I feel like there's not as much fanfare as I thought there would be.
Yeah, to be honest. Dude, what the fuck are they doing? 9 News, 7 News? What are you guys doing? 10? What do you... Like, they cover Fortnite of Creator and LoserFruit going overseas to that Fortnite event, which is big. Yeah, but like...
Influencers, man.
Come on, guys. Come on, man. Like, that was the hypest fucking event ever. Maybe because Fortnite's more family friendly, but also it had like a big come up, and there was all these like addictions and all these things going around and whatnot, and all these there was so, I don't know if you remember it, but there was so much fucking negativity, and all these doctors of gaming addiction were coming forward and saying that, oh, there's a lot of kids that are addicted to video games and stuff, and they play for like 2 hours a day when they finish their homework.
Yeah, bro. That's fucking amateur hours, mate.
No shit.
Check out my life.
How many hours? How many hours you put in, bro?
I mean, at the moment, I'm being pretty degenerate because I need to be on a nighttime schedule because we're doing some EUNA broadcast for Counter-Strike in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
So I'm changing my sleep schedule. Well, I'm already on an EU time zone because I got back from Sweden. I haven't swapped.
Yep.
But I'm getting up at like 3 in the afternoon, 2, 3 in the afternoon, and then hanging out with the missus, doing all that sort of stuff, and she goes to bed at like 10, 11. And then from 11 till like 5 in the morning, it's just, I'm playing Apex all night, or Rust.
Yeah.
Apex or Rust, those are the two.
Fuck,
so I'm
man.
playing,
I'm putting
5, 6, 7 hours a day, which is pretty good, I think.
Okay.
Pretty fun. Good times. I mean, I'm not working a huge amount at the moment, so that helps.
Oh, that's fair enough, man. Enjoy yourself whilst you can. The calm before the storm.
Correct.
Before the
that's
storm
how it
rolls
is.
in. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, question. For people that are listening right now, they may be wondering what ESL is, an esports league, one of the biggest event organizers in the world, and we have our own branch out here in Australia. But how do you get your foot in the door with ESL? Like, there's no course for gaming, is there?
No.
So how do you get your foot in the door with ESL, for example?
Are you speaking just like any kind of pathway or casting in specifically?
Let's say casting. We'll say casting because socials, you can be any marketing manager and stuff. So let's say from a social side, how do you get your foot in the door with ESL Australia?
I mean, the quick and dirty for like anything that's not casting or talent related is often they're going to just do a call on Twitter and they're going to say, hey, we need someone for this. I've seen it a lot. I've seen like a lot of production ones. I've seen social media ones. And they're going to say, hey, we need X or Y social media manager. Send us your resume, send us your history or whatever. I think for the most part, you kind of, at least in ANZ, you just need to be doing it already. It's a case of just do it and hope for the best. Maybe do it for a low tier team or something like that, or a lower tier TO. I know a lot of guys have worked for another TO that have now recently actually gone and moved over to ESL. Like I'm talking tournament admins and that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of just how you have to do it. This industry in ANZ is so small that inevitably, if you're working enough events or going to enough events, you're going to meet the right people and they're going to sort of be able to help you out and get you in. But on the talent side, it's, again, it's sort of the same thing. You just have to be doing it and hope that the right person notices at the right time.
Yeah.
It is a little bit easier on the non-talent side of things though, because, you can have qualifications. You can say, oh, I've done a film degree.
Yep.
Can I try for this broadcast role, even though I haven't got much experience? And I think they'll probably give you a try. They're always going through directors or producers, or they need, new graphics operator. That's another one. If you're into doing graphics, you just make a portfolio, make some stream graphics for people, that kind of thing. And then when you see that pop up, hey, we need another graphics operator. Here's all the shit that I've done. So that's the best way to do it.
Well, I know that a guy that used to be a graphics guy for Chiefs, for us at Chiefs, he actually now is a graphics guy for the Brisbane Broncos. And he's sitting on quite the wage, I must say.
I'm sure.
So he has his own company, and then that company, he obviously owns that company, and then he contracts himself out to that as a subcontractor and stuff. And but it all started at Chiefs. Same thing again. You start doing these things for streamers, and you branch your way out. And next thing, you sit between Jordan May and Ben Green in the office doing graphic.
Well, hopefully not, because that would be a bit of a boomer broadcast, to be honest. If you were there. There we go. If we were there. Yeah.
I was actually having a laugh at all the banter that was happening on Twitter when you were overseas and ESL. You would have seen a lot of it. There was some angry people. You upset some people. I don't know. It's some fists were swung. I love it. I love it.
They got my job. I don't know what they were mad about. You talking about the video they made. Yeah.
What video, dude? How many things? See, all the comments.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about you being overseas to ALGS and stuff. Actually, they did make a video, didn't they?
Yeah.
About you being upset. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the video.
I was like, hang on, is there some shit some people are talking about me that I don't know about?
Oh yeah, you should hang out in the office, bro. I sneak in there and just get the gas and dip out, bro.
Yeah, well, I did piss a few people off by doing that because I had said I was going to do the ANZ Champs broadcast to my good friend Ben Green. So I will say sorry, Ben. But like I said, when an opportunity like this comes up, you kind of just have to drop everything and go for it.
Yeah.
And luckily, obviously, I've worked enough with ESL, and we have a really good working relationship that it's not a huge deal. At least I don't think it's a huge deal. Maybe they do.
Mate, I'm surprised you had a job when you came back.
Yeah. Well, actually, I haven't worked for ESL since I've come back.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe I don't. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think most people kind of recognize, like, we're all in this for the same reasons, and it's not necessarily to be doing ANZ esports, even though I do love doing the ANZ esports. I still enjoy almost all the broadcasts I work here. There's no question about that. But let's just say if someone's going to send me to Sweden and pay me 3 times as much as you're able to pay me from ANZ, I'm going to fucking do that. Like, it's just how it is. So when those opportunities come, they come. But I mean, like that kind of support from everyone back at home is really good, even though it's done in like a bantery kind of negative way. It's always nice, to sort of get that, like, because it's like everyone feels good for you, like, and we're all, like I said, we're all sort of in this together in a way. If someone gets a good opportunity, you kind of have to support them, even if you're like, fuck that guy for, getting an opportunity that I didn't get. I don't think any of those guys are too mad because they're not passing Apex. But
they weren't mad.
I was sad to miss the finals for CS again. It's the second final I've missed. I've cast every single season, and I've only missed the 2 finals. So
you're not sad, bro. Yeah. Come on, you don't have to say that. You don't have to say that.
To be fair,
we can cut that from the broadcast.
Luke got a job, so good job, Luke. He got my job on the show.
Hey, well, man, if you don't have people throwing shade at you, like funny shade and banter stuff, then you're not loved. Okay, so you're definitely loved in the industry. It's great to have you part of it. But from the ESL side of things, you're just a subcontractor now, aren't you? You're freelance.
Yeah. So I went freelance in September 2019. I don't know. What year is it? 2022. Yeah, it must have been 2020. I've been freelance for a year and a half, basically. I still would say I probably do maybe 60%, 70% of my work with ESL Australia because of all those existing broadcasts that I'm on. It is becoming less. I'm working more with other TOs, and I think obviously that's just naturally because I was already associated with a lot of ESL broadcasts when I went freelance, and I continued to work on those. And it takes time to build up a bit of a rapport with other tournament operators. So I do World of Tanks now, which is like with Fortress, but also Wargaming are the ones that actually hire me. I do ALGS, which is with Longshot, which is Genome and Roots, and Order also involved in that. I've done an Order broadcast. I do work with LPL now as well, which were all like things that I couldn't really do when I was working for ESL. Like when I was full time at ESL, it was like, you can work for other TOs, but like it wasn't really worth it unless the money was really good, and that's why it only ever really happened for international shows. Because like ESL needs to cover my rate, and then I need to have a cut, and blah blah blah, whatever. All these sort of things. But now it's kind of like Jordan, do you want to work our event? Yes, here's how much I want you to pay me. Okay, work our event. That's all that it is anymore. Instead of, hey, can I work this event? Yes, but you need to charge this much. Blah 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 blah. Like going through all of the.
We need this card, and we need to see if it's okay with this event, and it aligns right.
Is there a conflict? La 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 la. All that sort of shit. Now I just choose my own stuff, and it's really good. And to be honest, like I earn a lot more than what I did when I was full time at ESL. So that's good, but I also have to pay myself, super. I have to pay my own tax. I have to, if I don't work, I don't get paid. Whereas when I was with ESL, I was full time. I had sick days. I had holidays and that kind of thing. So it's a bit of column A, bit of column B. I think I'm in a better place now as a freelancer, which, to be fair, most talent in esports are freelancers, so that does make sense. But I still do miss some of the aspects of being a full-time employee at ESL. Yeah,
it's definitely now. I've gone the complete opposite. I've gone from trade into now esports at a gambling company. But yeah, like it's one of those things, man. Like you go from paying your own tax and paying your own super and whatnot, and now the employee pays it for you, and you don't have to worry about a single fucking thing. And people are like, "Oh, I get a tax return," and you're like, "Oh, okay, right." I'm always fucking having to pay. Always having to pay more. You're always having to pay more. But like, it's one of those things that, like, I found that for myself that I would always put away a certain percentage of whatever my wage fell into into a separate account. So then when it comes to tax time, all you do is just swap that. You've already done your tax, but you haven't done it. If that makes sense. So you've got it, and you're just transferring it out, and it's just simple. Because otherwise, then if it's just one. You haven't been doing it, and then it's one big hit. You're like, oh, fuck. How am I going to pay that back? And whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not about that life.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky in that I'm a very financially minded person. You know, like I've always done budgets and this sort of shit, like kind of nerdy, but whatever.
Smart, man.
I've always been really careful with my money. I've been I'm a very, very good saver. Like people call me fucking stingy. You ask Ben about how much money I spend. He'll tell you it's barely any.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy that doesn't buy a bottle of water. I don't buy a bottle of water at the airport because it's too much. Like it's $5 instead of like what you can buy in Woolies for $2 or something like that.
Yeah, no, I get you.
That's because that shit's a fucking scam.
It is. It falls to the sky. It's fucking free. Come on, man. It's more expensive than fucking petrol. 500 ml of water is $5 when you can get a liter of petrol for $1.90. Still a ripoff, but yeah, it's more expensive.
It is. I haven't filled up my car in like 2 months. Guess that goes. I mean, I don't drive that much at the moment because of COVID. But
that's fair. That's fair. I think that with your job, you wouldn't be driving much. So that's
totally not at the moment. I barely do studio broadcasts, and funnily enough, when I do them, they're in Melbourne.
Oh, well, hang on a second.
Have to get an airplane.
To the tax people listening right now, Jordan drives every day, and he needs to claim the absolute max that he fucking can on tax.
Yep.
And his laundry is disgusting. He needs to wash his clothes every day.
I don't think I can claim tax on laundry, by the way, because it's not a uniform.
Oh.
Anyway, besides the point.
At least yourself
I do have a tax accountant who helps me out, and she's pretty good.
That's good, man. So, that's good. We won't talk about tax though. It digs holes for everyone.
Not very interesting for the viewers.
It digs holes for everything. We fucking segued so much right now.
You know what though? You know what? I know I'm going on a tangent again.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
I actually wish someone talked about all this shit when I was like going freelance. Because when I went from working full time at ESL to going freelance, I had no fucking idea what I was doing.
Really?
I had lived. I mean, my first job was at Woolies, and then I moved from Woolies into ESL. And my entire life, I had people paying my own tax and like doing all this shit for me. And then all of a sudden, it's like I'm going freelance. I had an ABN because I'd done like 1 or 2 gigs, but like I just whatever at the time. So then I'm like, do I have to pay tax? How do I invoice? I didn't even know how to invoice because I'd never really invoiced before.
Yeah.
How does this all work? And then it's like, do I have to charge GST? How do I charge GST? Do I just charge my normal rate plus 10%, or do I drop my normal rate by 10%? Like, all these questions I didn't know the answer to. Like, obviously now I've sorted it out, but it's just one of those things.
We can do it for cash and don't worry about the GST.
Yeah, all that. Yeah. No, I'm not about that. Cash is dead.
Cash is
money.
king. Cash is king, mate. Cash is king. No. I'm telling you. I'm watching Breaking Bad right now, and he had a lot of cash, Walter. That's. Have you watched Breaking Bad before?
I have, yeah.
I haven't finished it. Okay, I'm just letting you know.
It's one of the few. I'm very bad at what's the word, like popular culture, like references. If someone's like, people who used to cast with me, Ian Sniper, one of them.
Yeah.
He used to always make some reference to some movie, and I'd be like, I just don't get it. And he would get really pissed off. So that's one of the few that I
laugh at it though.
Yeah, I would laugh at it just
No,
for the
there we
sake
go.
of the broadcast. But I had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah, you're like, that's right. Anyway, back to the tanks.
That was really funny. Anyway, back to the broadcast.
Back to the broadcast, mate. Before we get this being a little bit awkward here, but
I just want to beat Josh's episode. So how much more do we have to do?
We got an extra half an hour to go. It's been an hour. It has been an hour.
I can break that record easily.
Fuck, it's always about big dicking each other at the ESL
competition
club, isn't it? Hey, it's all about that shit. I tell you what, though, man, I'm fucking looking forward to DreamHack this year. PAX is great, but I think that DreamHack's where it's at.
I think so too.
And I'm winning the free for all Halo. I'm just saying, I'm putting that out there. I'm going in there. The mullet's coming out. It's fucking going on, and we're bringing the video camera, and we're winning the free for all at Halo. DreamHack.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
It definitely won't be me winning. So,
well, I'm sitting right next to Barcode. I'm screen cheating, and I'm going to beat him. Okay.
Easy. I'm sure you can. I believe in you.
I will. Do you know who Barcode
I think DreamHack's going to be. I saw your last episode. I saw you talking about him in some kind of freak Halo player. So
Australia's best Halo player is ridiculous.
I'm up to date on the esports. I know everything.
There we go. Did you watch the OnlyFans episode of this podcast?
I did not watch the OnlyFans episode.
Hey, you got to watch.
I didn't know there was an OnlyFans episode.
There was an OnlyFans episode. That was fucking funny. That's my most viewed episode. Out of all these episodes, the OnlyFans one was.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's not esports.
Esports is a very niche market, actually.
Yes, it actually is. It's something that it is hard with the podcast. Like to grow a podcast in this scene, it is a little bit difficult. I am finding a bit of success with it, and it's definitely trending and going up. And I got an email not long ago saying, like, it's top, X amount for the country and stuff for this category, which is great. I have thought about doing like a live stream and just having the podcast playing, and I don't actually stream, and then I turn it off after one episode. So then I'm streaming an extra day, and it's catch up for people as a strategy. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a hard thing to grow the podcast, man. But it is great. I love talking to people.
The benefit for you is that at least the way I look at it is you haven't necessarily branded this podcast as being a specific like direction. Like you're kind of just talking to people, anyone. It doesn't really matter. Like obviously it's a lot of gaming, esports kind of people for the most part, but I think you can kind of go anywhere with that. My issue was I do geographically challenged / did. I haven't done it in a couple of months. And initially that was a Asian CSGO podcast. So already my niche market is esports, and then further niche it's Counter-Strike, and then further niche it's Asian Counter-Strike, which no one fucking watches. So, I'd get 500,000 views maybe on some episodes. I'd be pretty stoked with that. But like, how do you grow that, especially when that particular esport is kind of going down the drain?
500,000 views.
500 to 8,000, not 500,000.
Jesus Christ, fuck me, bro. You're like,
do you think I'd still be casting esports if I had a podcast that was getting 500,000 views?
Dude, how much money would that make?
Probably a lot on sponsored deals. Anyway, like you, I also didn't have a sponsor.
Yeah.
Then we did Valorant. So we swapped when CS kind of died. We did Valorant, and we got maybe some like 2,000 or 3,000 views for an episode.
Yep.
But again, I was like, I mean, is 3,000 views really that good? Like, it's good.
It's good,
but it's not good enough to like actually be really anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to have a lot more than that. Otherwise, no sponsors interested, etc. You're not making any money off the ad revenue or anything like that. I get you.
I
feel like the broader the topic, the better.
Yeah.
And like, then you can sort of just hit anything. That's why like things like, again, like Joe Rogan's fucking podcast, it goes crazy because it hits just like anyone can kind of watch it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas for certain people, like if people watching this particular episode are going to be interested in esports, they're going to be interested in casting, and they're probably going to be in ANZ.
Yep.
So you've got pretty niche markets there. But if you talk to, I don't know, whoever, fucking Loser Fruit, Laser Beam, Loser one of those guys, kids, Fortnite, influencers, Twitch streamers, that kind of, it's just like way broader. So that's the kind of thing.
Well, to get them on, it's really hard. So you've got to build, like my brand is big, and everyone does know who I am. It just comes down to if they choose to watch me. Well, this is the weird thing, okay? It is a weird flex.
Everyone knows who I am too, buddy. All right.
Exactly right. People know who we are, okay? And I think we can both agree with that. People do know who we are, but
to an extent, I'll say.
To an extent in the esports scene, but whether they they choose to listen, tune in, and watch what content we both put out, is a different story, and that's totally fair enough. People have jobs and they do other shit. They sport. They walk around. They don't sit at their computers and whatnot and watch and stuff. But to be able to then grow the brand to then try hit a bigger market from scratch compared to someone that's already established and they just happen to do a podcast because they're like, oh, I'm bored and I want to tie over time and just do a fucking podcast, and they just make another revenue model, and it's just easy. It's just easy fucking money for someone that's big. It is. 100%. It is hard. It is definitely hard, man. So
that's why it's so much harder to start. Again, it's the same as like even for casters these days. It's like way harder to start now than it was for me 8 years ago.
Yep.
Because you don't have that established brand. You don't have that established network.
Yep.
I look at that as well, and I'm thinking, man, these guys are just making free money. They're literally printing free money.
Oh,
like
sure.
life must be so fucking easy if you've got, I don't know how many followers or whatever they have on TikTok or Twitter or YouTube or whatever, but it's like literally anything you do, someone's going to watch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be good. I'm not saying that it's not good, but it doesn't have to be good necessarily. You can just fucking whack something on. Someone's going to watch it. You're going to fucking record a 30-second video of you dancing, and you're going to get 10 times the amount of views, 100 times, 1,000 times the amount of views that maybe I'll get recording an hour and a half long interview, like really in-depth discussion with some Asian Counter-Strike player.
Yeah.
Because I'm me and you're you, and because that Asian Counter-Strike player is him.
Yeah.
Then no one cares.
Exactly.
That's how it is. That's just life. And sometimes life's not fair, but it is what it is.
Hey, but we keep persisting, man, because it's a thing that you kind of just put that stuff aside. And you're like, at the end of the day, why did I get into this? And it's because you love the community, you have the passion for it, and you want to make a change in the way that esports is heading in the country, which is spiraling up, you know?
Correct. For me, it's not about, like, when I'm doing my YouTube videos, it's not about, like, the viewership or whatever, as much as I may talk about it on a show like this. I'm not really doing it for the viewership, and I'm definitely not doing it for the money, because I literally haven't made... I made I made a couple of $100 on Patreon from it.
Yeah.
So some people really did help me out there, but like in reality, it's not about the money.
Yeah.
It's about, like, I want to kind of try and tell the story of the players in this region, which is super underrepresented. So that's why I'm doing that. What a cliche way of saying it, but like
absolutely.
no one's interviewing ANZ CS players. No one's interviewing Asian Valorant players.
Yeah.
Maybe now they are. Asian Valorant's kind of starting to pop off, but
shit. Well, get one on.
I feel like, yeah.
Maybe.
Well, you should actually. There's a pretty interesting storyline there, because a lot of them came from CS, which was just like, they would go, they'd be that token invite to an international event, they'd get knocked out in 16th, and then
that's it.
See ya.
Yeah.
And then they'd come back, play for another couple of months, go overseas again, get knocked out in 16th, repeat that for 5 years.
Yep.
And then they moved to Valorant, and now some of them are making like top 4 at like international events.
Oh, it's great.
The same players. So it's like, why is that? How's that happen?
Yeah. You just add like a new dynamic into the game. You know, we'll talk about COD. So COD's movement back in Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, you had Shotzi, Crim6, Illy, Claystar, and I can't remember his Huke. And that was it. That was the same engine as it is now for Call of Duty Cold War. And once again, the same players are standing out because of this engine. But previously with Cold War and holy shit, I'm going to kill myself because I don't know and I should know. But previously with the other titles between that then and now is that it was a different movement system as well, different mechanic and stuff. And players just pop off depending on the movement system. So I totally understand when you're coming from where you're coming from with the whole, they move from CSGO to now Valorant when there's abilities, there's a slightly different mechanic, slightly, not too much. But it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But the other hard part about it is imagine playing Fortnite, bro. Like, you have to be so mechanically gifted. It is ridiculous, man. And imagine looking at a kid's hands, bro. Like, imagine playing it on a controller, bro.
Boomer. I genuinely have never felt more boomer than when I played Fortnite, because like, I'm not the greatest gamer. Like, I'm not an amazing, like, I'm not a freak. I'm not a pro player, but I can generally pick up any shooter and like be pretty good at it. You know, decent enough that I can stomp on the pubbies. But dude, I got into Fortnite and I was like, holy cow. Like, I'm just getting railed. My aim was fine. My accuracy was fine. There was no issue with that. But some kid would build this freak tower and I'd just be sitting on the ground like, okay, what button is it to build a ramp? Okay, now I want to build a wall. And then
the no build mode's great. The no build mode is fantastic. I haven't played it since like the ALGS, because then I got back in Apex. It inspired me.
Apex is pogging hard right now.
For sure, man.
We've been talking a lot about Apex, right? But
I know,
I feel like people should try it again. Like, a lot of people played it when it first released, and everyone loved it. And then obviously cheaters and no ranked and blah blah blah. It's actually really good now for those that haven't played since.
Well, I went back to Warzone and then played that for a long time. You know,
played a lot of Warzone too.
Played well in the tournaments and stuff, and then I've come back to Apex. But I think that I really want to start hosting. This is one. If I could have a dream, right, and bring it true, one dream would be to be able to host big fucking events and cast them. Say, for example, for Call of Duty, because it lacks. It fucking lacks, and I know that for a fact. So if I could do that for the community, that'd be sick. I don't care if I make a cent or not. It's more about the fact that people love that shit, and I know that, and I enjoy it as well. And so putting something like that on for people would be one of the coolest things for people. Was they're barking for it, man. They want it. They want it so bad.
I mean, it's definitely possible. Like getting brands on board, I guess, is pretty hard. I have no real experience in that department, but I know people do it. They put on like 10K sort of lands, like that kind of thing. Rivalry did one for Counter-Strike pretty recently with Order. They supported a local community CS LAN as well down in Melbourne.
Yep.
So like that's the kind of thing you need. You just need like, I don't know, maybe 20K or something like that from a brand to put up a bit of a prize pool, pay some, you know, some guy in prod to do it, a couple of $1,000, pay some casters a few $100, that kind of thing, and then Bob's your uncle.
See,
not as easy as it sounds, but
strategy that the thing about it, Rivalry is a gambling company, and there's so much legality behind it. I've had to learn all that stuff being part of one myself, but the only game that doesn't really care is CSGO. So we can't, at the company that I'm with right now, I really wanted to host like a Call of Duty event, but for Call of Duty would pick up on it and be like, hang on a second, no fucking way. Or we want a cut, but the cut would be like the whole prize pool. So it's really difficult to be able to do something for the community, but also promote the company at the same time. So it's so frustrating because the money's there. They would happily put out 10 or 20 grand, but it's just that Call of Duty or Valorant or League of Legends, all of them.
What can you do? Nothing. As long as there's a dev involved in the game, you're probably pretty cooked.
Yeah.
Like even the Rivalry CS event, we were not allowed to say that company name during specific segments. Like 5 minutes before the game or 5 minutes after the game, there was like a blackout. So from 5 minutes before the game all the way through the game until 5 minutes after the game, we could not say the name of the betting company. Yeah. That's why it wasn't called like the Rivalry CS Invitational or something, because that's pretty awkward if you can't say the name of the tournament. They called it the Insanely Awesome CSGO Tournament instead, which I didn't think was a very good name. But anyway, it was pretty hard to say.
Who the fuck named that? Some boomer that has no idea about esports.
We had fun with it. So
I like it, man. I like it.
That is part of the problem though, isn't it? That like a lot of those companies, the ones that you can actually get money from, are basically the gambling companies.
Yep.
So
it's the difficult part, man. It's so hard, man. That's why I'm working on things to try and get that across the line, but in a different way. Which fingers crossed, because I'm all about the community. I want to offer that and give to because they see, like, we'll use COD as an example again. There's 10 grand, 50 grand, and 100 grand tournaments happening once a fortnight, once a week, and once a month. Like, and seeing that overseas, you're like, fuck me, man. Like, even just placing top 3, you're like getting a good payout. More than what you'd get over here.
Good opportunities, not just for the players, but for people who want to do production, people who want to learn, people who want to cast, people who want to tournament admin. Yeah. All these kinds of things. It's not just great for players to get, more money or to play more. It's like the whole ecosystem really benefits from having these smaller tier tournaments, which unfortunately are kind of the ones that we really lack in ANZ. Like we have big TOs. We've got ESL, they're doing really good stuff with a lot of titles, and then LPL's there as well, doing some good stuff too. Fortress is sort of dabbling here and there, and there's a few others sort of floating around. But like, where is that TO that's just putting on like a 10K tournament every weekend?
Yeah, it's because it's 10K and they can't get the money behind them. That's the hard part.
Or even 5K. Like some esports titles would be frothing over 5K.
Oh, for sure. The issue that I think that we have with our scene is that some people see 5K or $1,000. We'll say $1,000 to $2,000 for a Call of Duty tournament. But we'll say Warzone, and they say it and they snub at it. They're like,
like, why would I play in that?
Yeah, it's not worth my time. It's like,
got anything else to play?
Hang on a second, mate. Like, usually you would play this tournament, be playing anyway. So you may as well participate and try win the money.
Yeah. If it's a little bit of money, surely that's better than zero money. Like,
that's right.
Maybe let the players stream it. Who gives a shit? It's a 1K tournament.
All the players could stream it. It's just that it'd be like there's so many streamers out there that I see that I know personally that they don't organize these things. I'm like, holy shit, man! Like if I was in your position, 100% I'd be organizing these tournaments, because not only does it simulate the growth for the future of our ecosystem in esports in Australia and New Zealand, but it also helps you grow as a streamer as well. Like it's just you set up, do a watch party and shit. Like fuck me, man. So I reckon I'm gonna start working on one and start doing that. Even Apex, like that's untapped here as well.
Apex would pop off, I reckon. Although you'd have to do APAC. There's like
it'd be APAC. It'd be APAC, and we'd do a fucking watch party. I'd get pissed and bang, we're sweet. We're sweet, man.
Easy.
But
I reckon it would pop off.
Maybe I might need to slide into your DMs and see if we can get something going. And I don't know, it might be back one of those caster days. It depends how many sponsors we can get on board, but
that's only if you can afford my day rate, mate.
Oh, fucking come off it, mate. A minimum chips, I can afford that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Extra chicken salt. Yeah, I'll get that for you too, dude. Don't worry.
Yeah, make sure.
Absolutely.
Large chips, actually.
Large chips. Yeah. Okay. We get the large chips.
I'm a pretty big dog, right?
Hey,
so, come on.
Top dog gets the big dog, the big fish. So we'll get you one of those ones. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. I think it can really pop off. It just sucks that the big devs don't say, hey, we want to support this region or something. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's again one of those things.
I get it, like money speaks.
Yeah, I kind of get it, and I get it in the sense that like if a dev doesn't put all of their money towards ANZ or Asia or whatever, but what really irks me is, and this happens a lot, is when a dev says you can't run a tournament without our permission, or you can't run out a tournament without paying us. It's like, what are you even doing, bro? Like, you're not running tournaments here. Yeah. Or if you are, they're dog shit and no one likes them, or they're not good enough. And you're just preventing, an ESL or an LPL from running the tournament without giving you 10 grand, 50 grand. Like, no one's got that to give away.
No one.
In ANZ. Like, maybe that works in NA and EU, where these companies are, getting massive, sponsor budgets from fucking Coca-Cola or some shit like that. But like, it's not happening here, mate. They just don't understand. So
absolutely not.
You can either have nothing, or you can have someone running something, but they're not paying you to run it.
Yep, pretty much. That's the hard part about it. And that's look, I'll put my fucking neck on the line. I'll stretch my neck out and see if I can do some stuff. I don't think that people are going to chase me for small events, but I know that Chiefs did get chased for their L'Oreal event, which is like $200 or $500 for Call of Duty, and it's just like, why bother? Why are you bothering with that? Because they saw L'Oreal and they just But anyway, that aside, look, man, I think we're getting to the end of the podcast, bro. Are you?
That's fine.
Is there anything you want to close? Any closing comments that you want to finish with?
Not really. I don't have anything burning that I feel like I need to say.
Burning.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the thing is, I'm not a super opinionated person in general. I try to keep my cards relatively close to my chest as well. Like I just try not to piss people off. Yeah. Some people, they like to get into arguments, they like to get into fights, and they like to stir shit. I generally tend to try and just not, because I feel like at some point I'm gonna have to work with almost everyone in this industry.
Yeah.
And I know there's some people that probably don't like me, but at least I haven't directly pissed them off. Yeah. Except for them, because
they made a full tribute video to you of how much they hate you, bro. Jesus.
That's fine. I'll take that. I feel like then at least we're even.
Hey, that was gas.
But yeah.
That was a shout out.
It was.
A shout out. You get followers on
that video did relatively well. Maybe like one or two. I don't know. Hard to tell with all the other ones that were coming in from there.
They'll probably claim that all your followers.
Yeah, probably.
Them. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. A lot of them probably did.
Pretty much, man. Hey, dude, one last question. Where do you store your butter? In the fridge or the pantry, bro?
Butter. In the fridge, obviously. Like, I don't know why you'd ever put it in the pantry. I mean, the sauce debate definitely is one thing, but...
Okay, sauce. Where do you put your sauce?
Sauce is in the pantry.
Okay.
But, and I think, people will say, yeah, you can put sauce in the fridge or whatever, and I can kind of see that argument. But I cannot, in any world, see an argument where butter would go in the pantry.
Do you want me to give my argument?
I don't know. Is it fucked up and weird?
Nah, it's real quick. Dude, literally, my butter's soft. And it's not like liquidy or anything. And it just stays in my cupboard, which is like cool enough anyway. And so whenever you get like it... Nah, dude, it's fat. It's fat and salt.
Okay.
preservatives. Anyway,
Sure.
and I smash it fast enough anyway. But if you're spreading like butter on a smooth piece, on a fresh piece of toast that's real doughy and soft, it won't curl up and stuff. But if you're getting it from the fridge, then you're pulling it out, it's kind of a bit tough and it kind of doughs up and shit. I get the argument of people saying, I leave it out. And I'm like, well, fuck me, bro. I don't have half an hour to leave my butter out when I'm rushing in the morning.
I do get the argument to an extent because like when I go to a hotel breakfast and they give you like those little sachets of butter.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've been sitting there for like an hour or whatever and you get it and you just spread it straight up.
Yeah.
It's pretty premium, but I don't feel like I could trust it. I just think it would, I don't know. I just feel like it would go bad or...
It wouldn't. It doesn't, bro. I've been doing it for fucking years. Since I was born.
The concept of warm butter just kind of weirds me out unless it was cold directly beforehand.
It's not room.
Like warm butter's fine.
It's not warm.
Okay, but...
It's just like room. It's just not room. It's not even like... I don't even think about the temperature. Now you're making me conscious of what fucking temperature my butter's at, bro. I'm going to have to start getting a thermometer out like I do for my steaks,
what happens when it's like a 40-degree day?
It's still in the cupboard. It's still fine, man. Like it just still sits there as normal butter. It's fine. Right, it might be a little bit mushier, maybe, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's just fat.
Look, I didn't know you were a weirdo before this podcast.
But fuck! So now you're throwing shots at me just before I go. Okay, wow.
It's the best time because you can't fight back.
Yeah, fuck. I'll get you. I'll get you.
I'm sure one day.
Live events are coming
back
up
or something. And punch on.
PAX is first. You going PAX?
I don't know if I'll go to PAX.
Oh, okay.
It depends. If I have work, I'll go. Obviously, I haven't locked anything in for PAX.
Yep.
But I've been to PAX so many times. It's kind of lost its magic for me.
Yeah.
All I've ever done is work. I did the very first PAX I did as a spectator, and then I've just worked it. And I feel like it's the same thing every year. Yeah. Maybe it'll be different this year because there hasn't been one for a while, but. Yeah, I'll only go if I'm working.
Keen for DreamHack. I'm so fucking keen for DreamHack.
DreamHack, I think is going to be sick. Yeah.
I just hope that I get that same VIP treatment again. Fuck the car underneath, you know. I
don't know if you are a VIP, but
I'm a fucking
it's
VIP.
Not up to me, luckily.
I'm a fucking VIP. Get me in there, bro. We all know that we want it. We want it. But dude, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for your time, man. I'll link all Jordan's socials below, ladies and gentlemen, if you're gonna go check him out. And once again, this podcast can be found on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, and pretty much everywhere, except for RedTube. But we'll see you guys on the next one. And until then, remember to be safe, stay as well, and as always, boom, baby. Peace.